Good morning. It's Friday, August the 8th. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm still in Croker Island anchorage. You can see though that most of the boats in the anchorage have left today, whether it's for greener pastures or otherwise, I don't know. But fairly empty today. We had a little bit of weather roll through first thing in the morning. And since then it's been just stunning, bright blue sky, sunny, hot, very little wind. So I'm taking advantage of that. I'm doing a bit of a maintenance day today. I've already scrubbed the cockpit and side decks of the boat, cleaned off the solar panels, and hope that I'd be able to get a little bit more output from them. But my big job today is I'm trying to tighten my roller furling headstay. So what that means is on the bow of the boat, there's a wire. There's a bunch of wires that hold the mast up, and those are called stays or shrouds. Arguably the most important one is this one here. This is the forestay, and you can see it's got a drum down at the bottom. It's partly taken apart by now already, but a swivel here that is held up by the halyard. And normally what I would do is I would attach the top pointy end of the head sail to this, hoist it up inside this foil. You can see it's got some grooves here. And then down at the bottom, this drum also has this swivels independent of the drum. And what that does is that allows the sail to furl around that foil. This foil here furls the sail up, so it's easy to deploy and put away. Problem is, it's not been as easy to deploy and put away as I would like, and so I think what I've narrowed it down to, at least to start, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with the furling system itself. I think that the head stay just has too much slack in it, so I'm going to try and tighten that up. Now, normally what I would start with, and I've already done this a couple times, is tighten the backstay, which should pull the top of the mast backwards and tighten up the forestay. However, I've done quite a bit of that already, and it doesn't seem to work. So what I want to do is put about a half an inch of adjustment into the forestay to make it a little bit shorter. In order to do that, I've had to take the sail down and then take apart the roller furling. Now I'm going to loosen up the backstay in order to give myself slack enough on the forestay to make that half-inch adjustment. Then I'm going to tighten everything back up and see if it's any better. So here at the back of the boat, this is the backstay. This is the stay that keeps the mast from going forward at the top. And you can see it's got a really big turnbuckle on it. And there's some split rings in there, and those prevent the turnbuckle from turning when you don't want it to turn. So I'm just gonna, you put a wrench on these wrench flats right here, like that, and then you stick a screwdriver into these spaces and undo that turnbuckle. And I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. Okay, so that's done. You can see this space here. The previous owner had this black electrical tape on the backstay to show how much adjustment you needed. Now, whether or not that's accurate, I don't know. I probably won't use that anymore, but you can see I've created quite a bit of space here. And because there's 2 threads on a turnbuckle, I've actually created twice that amount. So probably pretty close to 3 inches of slack I've put on that backstay. And you can see it's very loose now. So I'll go forward now and try and put that half-inch adjustment on the drum of the forestay. Right, so I'm not gonna video this because this is awkward as hell, but basically I've loosened off this collar and a similar tightening or locking nut underneath the drum, and that should give me enough looseness, I guess, slack to be able to put some adjustment on by turning this whole drum assembly. Inside this drum assembly is a turnbuckle, just like the one at the back of the boat. So by turning it, I can either create more slack or less slack in the forestay. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Well, that was a chore for not a lot of improvement. I was able to get that drum about 3/4 of a full turn, which isn't much of an adjustment, you know, 2 threads maybe, so maybe 3/8 of an inch of adjustment. It's gonna have to be enough because there is no more room for adjustment to tighten this head stay any more than there is. And even that, with only 3/4 of the way around, you can see here this gap. There's a hole in the drum where you can see rope. That's the furling line. Well, that has to be facing in this same direction. So with only getting 3/4 of an adjustment, I had to take that drum off and rotate it a quarter of I guess a third of a rotation to get it to this point where it can still come back to these blocks here like that. So like I say, quite a bit of fiddly adjustment in a space where there's just not a lot of room for a person as big as me. But at least now I know all the adjustment that's possible up here is done, and I'll have to do everything else with the shrouds and the stays at the back. Okay, back at the back of the boat again. Don't know if that little adjustment up there is going to be enough to make a difference. I may have to try and make it all up back here by over tightening the backstay to tighten the forestay enough to keep it from kind of flopping in the roller furling problem that I'm having. But we'll see. I mean, worst case scenario, I certainly can't make it any worse. So hopefully we can make it a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and tighten the rig back up, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so the rig's all tightened up again. Now I'm going to try and raise the sail, and doing that single-handed is it can be a bit of a challenge, but I'm gonna give it a try. More challenging at anchor than it is at the dock, because if I screw this up, the anchor will drag. But we'll see how it goes. And I'm actually going to try and video it so you guys can see how that goes. Okay, good luck. Here we go. So of course we get a puff of wind just as I start doing that. All right, that went pretty smoothly, and I actually do think it made it a little bit better. So that was time well spent. All right, Friday afternoon, I've done some maintenance work, and now I'm out on a hike, and this is Croker Island. I'm probably 100 feet up, maybe a little more, 100 feet up from water level. It's not an easy hike. There's no path, even relative to what I said about the last non-path hike I was on. But the view from up here is amazing. Well, it's been a good day. Friday, August the 8th. And let me think, I got scrubbed the head, got that all cleaned up, scrubbed the cockpit floor, downloaded the Bluetooth app for my battery monitoring system and made some notes about usages and what I think, how much more solar power I think I need. I'm losing about 5% or maybe 40 amp hours every day, every night. And the solar power systems are able to keep up through the day, maybe even gain a little bit, but I'm losing every night. So I need more capacity on the solar system. I took some videos already that you guys will see of trying to improve the roller furling by increasing the tension on the forestay. I went for a hike that didn't turn out very well and ended up just giving up on that and going to sit on a rocky beach for a little while. And I did a bunch of work on the taff rail, the rail on the stern of the boat. And then I sat down. Well, the thunder and lightning nearby started, so I sat down to have a beer and wait for that to roll through. So that's what I'm doing right now. And there has been very little rain, but a fair bit of thunder and lightning in the immediate area. So at some point I will go down below and stitch all of this into a video for the day. But it's been a great day, and I really enjoy weather. So I'm sitting outside, slight drizzle, waiting for thunder and lightning to roll on through. It's very calm. The wind is just starting to pick up, so I imagine we're about 10 or 15 minutes away from wind and rain. Happy Friday.